I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Again, I'm James Lee. I'm the demographer with the Montgomery Plan.
And I am Molly Jimson Juarez. I am part of the engagement consultant team with Brick and Story.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So as Molly and Vera mentioned earlier, there are multiple ways you can participate. You can simply unmute yourself and let us know your thoughts. You can also go into the mural board if you want to and add your comments, but we will also share it on the screen as well so everyone will be able to see what everyone is saying. And I think Molly just put in the link to the mural board. So if you wanted to go in there and add comments, you can do that as well. So the first activity that we're going to focus on is on the pedestrian network. And at the June 11th visioning session, we heard a lot from folks about where they would like to see more lighting, more street crossings, or shuttle stop, as well as public seating. So that's this kind of chart that is zoomed in right here. So the yellow dots that you see on the map, that refers to where folks want to see more lighting. The orange stickers refer to street crossings. There are no pink, but that refers to like where folks would want to be shuttle stops, and the green is benches. So from you guys, we just want to hear and understand, like, do you agree with what folks mentioned at the in-person visioning, or are there other areas where you think maybe there needs to be more lighting or additional street crossings?
This is Margaret. I just would ask a question or make a point. Um, I think lighting is good, especially a lot of people need it in the evening, but part of it depends upon the brightness of the light and the kind of light it is, because there are lights in the community that shine in people's condos and apartments, and they can't sleep, and if they want to open a window on a nice evening, the light shining in. So one has to be very careful about the placement of lights and how strong they are relative to people's living quarters.
No, that's a very good point. Thanks for adding that, Margaret. And yeah, that is something we heard at the in-person as well, like folks particular about like the type of lighting that they would want to see on some of these streets, and just making sure that it's not like lighting pollution and kind of like
Right.
obstructing views
Well,
as they're in their
yeah, and,
home.
and the other thing is lighting is one of the biggest problems for people actually enjoying the sky and stars at night. So having lower bollards is better sometimes than having very high street lights.
Okay, right. Thanks for that. Any additional comments on lighting in terms of like where you would like to see more lighting in the plan area?
I
What
think
about, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Natalie.
something I noticed, especially along Wisconsin Avenue, is there's sort of different kinds of lighting features, and different kinds of poles, and to have more, sort of an urban design that had um, more of the same kind of poles. And I think I agree with Margaret. I mean, being very careful about how the lighting should be able to illuminate the sidewalk and help pedestrians, but not, blast into people's windows,
Got it.
but
No, thanks.
shine on the sidewalk. And I think that has a lot to do with the kind of light fixtures that would be along the various corridors.
Right. Thanks for adding that. Any additional comments on lighting before we go to street crossings? Okay, what about street crossings? So on this map in the in-person visioning, along Willard, and Friendship Boulevard, folks put stickers for where they'd like to see additional street crossings, as well as up further along north on Wisconsin. Do you guys agree with this? Do you guys think this is where new street crossings should be, or do you have other recommendations for where you would like to see more safer crossings for pedestrians? Okay, I'm not hearing any comments, so I'm assuming everyone agrees with the street crossings from the in-person visioning.
Well, I'll add something. I think Wisconsin and Western is just such an incredibly hostile intersection. And I think there's a lot of opportunities there to rethink that intersection and make it more pedestrian friendly, but also be able to shorten the light cycles. If you were able to sort of do some urban design strategies to shorten the crossings, but also that would mean that there would be reduced signal time that would mean that you can still have the commuter traffic flow, but then a safer and better walking experience. And I just think that's such a critical intersection to make the neighborhood more navigable.
I agree with that assessment of the intersection. I wonder how expensive or how complicated it would be to us to maybe do an underground passage across. I mean, now one could technically sort of do that in parts of it by going down into the metro area, where you used to go to what was once Macy's or Bloomingdale, I don't know, one of the stores. But maybe an underground passage could be thought about, or that may be too complicated. But it seems like there's already passages there that could be used by people.
Right. That's fair. And Natalie, I want to follow up on what you said about like it being very hostile. I know you mentioned like the crossing like timings. I guess you're like referring to like the amount of time it takes for a pedestrian to cross. Is that what you're okay?
Well, and you have to wait for, I think, almost 2 minutes to be able to cross. So it just creates, and I hear, and it's funny. So Margaret, I actually used that underground passage to get from my office to the village. And it's interesting. I was like, oh, I found the secret passage that nobody knows about. And then I realized the more I use it, I was like, wow, a lot of people use this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is this interesting thing that we actually have already in the neighborhood. And maybe there's ways of enlivening that passageway. But another thing about that, though, is that it means that you don't have that, people passing by the businesses, like that kind of street life that you have when people are walking.
I wasn't considering it as an alternative, but maybe as an additive feature.
Yeah.
Like especially if it's snowing out or raining. But the other thing is that I was recently on an intersection, I think it was in Bethesda, where they had one of those, no, I can't remember where it is now, but anyway, where all the lights changed at the same time. So if you're a pedestrian, you could go diagonally.
Oh, like the barn dance thing.
Yeah, the kind of thing where so that you didn't have to cross just one street, wait 2 minutes, then wait another 2 minutes to cross the next street to go north if you're coming from the south and you're on the opposite side. So maybe there's something to be done about playing with the lights too.
No, awesome. Thanks for that, Margaret. That's something we'll definitely take into consideration as well. I see that, Andrew, you mentioned that there are other issues that are much bigger priorities. Would you care to share what your experience has been in the pedestrian network or other priorities transportation-wise?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I don't want to prolong this part, but thank you for asking. No, I actually, I'm sorry, I don't have a particular problem with the current lighting or street crossing, which are kind of the same. I mean, I've lived in the area off and on since I was a child. No, I think other priorities are just, walkability and having more green space and that's, access to transit, which we already have, things like that. But I don't want to belabor this. Thank you.
No, thank you for your comments. That's all very helpful. What about benches or additional shuttle stops? Does anyone have any comments on where they'd like to see additional benches or shuttle stops? If not, we can go into our second activity.
I think it would be great to have more benches for people to sit, especially along the shopping area, which I know there's still a lot of shops that haven't come back, but it would be nice to have that.
Do you, is there like a particular shopping area that you have in mind? Or a particular like street where you'd like to see more benches?
Well, I'm thinking of Wisconsin, as you're going up from Western, having some benches along there where people might be waiting to get into a restaurant because there's a few restaurants there, or coming out of a shop and want to sit for a minute, or um, so that's where I would like to see some more benches. We have a lot of nice existing wonderful places to sit on the plaza outside of Bloomingdale's and those shops, which is really wonderful. But and I don't know that there's a bus. I don't know that there's a stop for the shuttle anywhere along Wisconsin north of Bethesda going up toward Chevy Chase. It seems to me that you have to walk all the way into DC for if you're going to take the DC bus, of course. But I'm just wondering if there's no shuttle stop going north to Bethesda, that I know of. And maybe there is one, I just don't know where it is.
Right. So the shuttle stop is referring to the Village of Friendship Heights shuttle. So that usually circulates around the Village of Friendship Heights
Right.
to the metro station. And it also goes to West Barge Shopping Center as
Right,
well.
right.
But it doesn't travel up to Bethesda currently.
No, okay, I thought you were talking about that one as well. But yeah, so I think it's got probably enough stops.
Okay. No, awesome. Thanks for that feedback. So we're going to move into our second activity, which is about Wisconsin Avenue. We're going to take a virtual walk down Wisconsin, starting at the Bloomingdale Plaza and stopping at various places along the way. So that will be this activity, and it's focused on improvements to public spaces. So at each stop, there'll be questions where you can provide feedback on how you feel about this, if you spend time in any of these areas, and like what you would like to see be improved. So the first stop, which is number one, is the Bloomingdale Plaza. So I'd love to know if you guys spend any time here, what your experience is here, what do you think is working well, or what you would like to see be improved in this public space? Or if it's perfect and working perfectly fine.
I love it. I mean, I sit out there all the time and meet friends there. The only thing it doesn't have is it used to have places to get a cup of coffee and then sit outside. And it's a shame because it's a nice big plaza that it doesn't have that, and it could use a little more shade, I think. But the thought that it would be made smaller would be very upsetting because it's a really nice place. And with all the new people coming in and these new residents that we have with these new apartment buildings, it would be nice to keep it the way basically it is.
Okay, so it's working well, maybe more shade. It'd be great to have somewhere where you could, maybe
Buy
get
a cup
coffee,
of coffee, yeah.
be able to kind of sit and talk and fellowship with folks.
Mhm.
Got it.
More-
Any comments from someone who hasn't spoken yet, about your thoughts on Bloomingdale's Plaza, what's working and not working here?
I just say more greenery.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, let's move along to our second location, which is the benches near the metro station.
Can I just say something on the Bloomingdale site real quick?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Thank you so much.
Okay.
The plan, the 94 plan restricted the amount of density that could occur actually on the property. So there wasn't any density left over to accommodate what I think was a very good suggestion for like coffee shops or other small retail that would enclose and tighten up that space, that the open space. So I think it would be a good idea to provide the opportunity for additional sort of commercial retail type uses that would provide this sort of convenience type of uses that the individual was talking about, that could frame the space better and allow people to enjoy it more.
Got it. Thanks for your comment on that. right. Okay, so let's move to our location near the metro. So I'm curious about if folks, sit at these benches, what it's like sitting there, what is your experience sitting there, or if there are things that can be better at this location in particular, or if there's something that, would make you want to sit there if they're.
I'll just say quickly because I don't want to keep talking. I sit there a lot, and I've met people shopping, and we sit there after shopping, and we
Okay.
love it. We love that there's enough shade, and it's really nice.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Any additional thoughts on the metro station benches? Are there other places on Wisconsin Avenue that you think would benefit from more seating currently?
Well, I think some of the shops north of Wisconsin, Western, having a few benches, right before you get to Saks, that whole area, south of
Okay.
Saks, north of Western.
Okay. So further north on Wisconsin Avenue.
Mhm.
Okay. Got it. Thanks for that. Okay, Andrew never sat there. I just walked through there, agree it needs more shade. Okay. Got it. Thanks for that, guys. I think we can move on to our third location, which is the plaza at 5454 Wisconsin. This is actually where the Starbucks is located. So again, similarly, is this a plaza that you guys use or like your friends and family use? What is your experience here? Are there things that can be done to improve this plaza in particular?
It needs some greenery. It's pretty stark.
Okay, so more greenery.
But I think it is valuable space, though, in that, it's one of the few areas that's a little bit off the, not right on Wisconsin Avenue. So you're a little bit off of it. So like it's pleasant to sit at a nice day to sit at that Starbucks and have a coffee.
Yep.
Okay, and it does seem to be one of the more pretty active public spaces in Friendship Heights. Any additional comments on the Starbucks Plaza?
Are there certain types of like tables or benches or things that you would like to see? I think, thinking about like improving and activating, especially activating the space. Are there things that you could envision um, in this plaza or really at any of the places that we're talking about here?
I mean, a new type of business? Is that what you're asking?
Not necessarily a business, it could be, but it could be, an activation could be like, a plaza that could have a weekly class of some sort. It could be
Oh, okay.
maybe covered seating or a certain type of tables or benches.
Yeah. Well, I think it could use, as I said, that particular one, a little more greenery and maybe a few more seating areas. Part of the problem is people want to sit there outside of Starbucks, and it is lovely to buy a cup of coffee and sit there, but you feel badly if you're not in the mood for a cup of coffee, but you want to sit, because a lot of people, the more shopping there is and waiting for restaurants or waiting for your prescription at the pharmacy and things, or to go into the healthcare place, it's nice to have a place to sit to wait. And you don't want to take the Starbucks tables because that really belongs to them commercially.
Yeah, that's a good point. So wanting to be able to kind of sit out, but without necessarily spending money per se, but
Yeah, for short periods of time to be able to sit.
The red tables and chairs are public. They're not.
Oh, they are?
Mhm.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Any additional comments on this plaza before we move to the Saks Fifth location? Okay. Andra mentioned maybe some umbrellas with red tables.
Yeah,
Okay.
shade is good. The more we're getting global warming problems, the more shade we need, and therefore the more trees in general for the planting, the big plan.
Awesome. Thanks for that comment. I think we can move over to site number 4. So this is the Saks Fifth Avenue site. So this section is not so much about the development that'll happen here, but as far as like what the future block of Wisconsin will look like in the future. So this is a site in our plan that we are looking at as an opportunity site. And so that means we'll make recommendations to encourage future development on this site. So we want your feedback on like, what do you think this block should look like? Should it continue to be retail? Should it be an open space, maybe a park? Or maybe, this kind of area can be a gateway into Friendship Heights as you're coming south on Wisconsin from Bethesda. So yeah, we really like your feedback on what you'd like to see happen on this site in particular.
Well, I agree. It's an opportunity because it seems like the status quo is just a giant parking lot. It seems like a waste of the space. But I guess my plea not to go all NIMBY here is not too much development, or if you're going to do development, yeah, like retail or low rise, not high rise. Because as I understand it, the building that's going up where Brooks Brothers is now next to Marriott is going, it's already approved, and that is going to be a high rise. I mean, pretty soon, Wisconsin Avenue will itself turn into a parking lot as all these people get in their cars and drive places. Sorry
Right.
to be a curmudgeon, but
Well, I agree with those comments. I think it would be nice, again, we're going to need more and more trees because of climate changing and the need for more, I think, oxygen exchange, the more shade. And I also believe with the higher density we're getting with all these new apartments coming into the area, people need places to walk to. And I would suggest that one of the things that would be very nice to have, and it looks like maybe the lower right is part of that, but fountains, water. Water is a great sort of peaceful draw for people to come and sit and enjoy the outside. So I think that might be nice to make sure we have some areas that have at least one fountain, a nice fountain, like we have in the Hubert Humphrey Park.
Awesome. Thank you guys for your comments. Any additional comments on the Saks Fifth Avenue site?
No high rise.
So I'll put in that I think that there's a way of adding housing and also having light and air and livability, and that site is a prime site for adding more homes.
Agreed.
Yeah, and if there are no additional comments, I believe we can move on to our final site. So this is the plaza at the collection. This is our last stop. So I'm curious about how you guys feel about this plaza, if you ever spend time here, or what you think can be done to either improve this space or activate this space.
I think it's a kind of a useless space as it is now. I don't really see people using it much. It's not very attractive and doesn't seem very usable.
Okay. Are there things that you think could be added here to make it more usable?
No, I'd have to go study it again. Just
Mm,
it just seems like more of a thoroughfare than anything else.
Okay.
I would say that serves a purpose. I mean, because when you think about the DC side and all these super blocks that I think it's nice having a break in the block and be able to cut through and just not have just a sort of monolithic super block.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think it's much of a I agree. It's a pass through. It's a good thoroughfare, and but I don't see it as a place for gathering or anything. If that's what was being asked, it's not a place to hang out, as the question is.
Okay. So right now it's pretty much being used as a connection point as opposed to folks actually spending time there or actually wanting to kind of sit um, either, with friends or, after shopping. Any additional comments on the plaza at the collection? Or any additional thoughts?
Ideas on what could activate the space or what could make it not just a pass through?
Don't know.
I think more movable furniture, so you can have like seating groups as opposed to just benches. Like that might be something that could sort of activate it more.
Maybe more grass and trees.
More grass and trees, some more greenery. Any other comments?
This is a long-term, this is obviously a long-term sector plan, so it's very possible, that sites could be reevaluated and reconfigured as part of any sort of a alteration of development on the property.
Right.
If there, for example, is some redevelopment of the property, it might be that different amenities come into play, or if the spaces are designed differently. This was done a long time ago, so.
Right. That's a fair point. Okay, any additional comments before we wrap up? If not, I want to thank you guys so much for your feedback. This is all very helpful. We'll be recording this and thinking about these ideas as we continue to work through the plan. We are going to move back into the main group after this, and I believe we're going to do a exit survey. We're also going to have an additional Q&A if you guys have any questions related to this or any other questions related to the plan. And also, if you have additional questions, Ataro's email will be in the chat, so you can reach out to her as well. But thank you guys for your feedback. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we're just gonna maybe sit still until we get kicked back into the main room.
Yeah, you're going to get kicked back in, or you can choose to move back.